meeting is being recorded.
All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to another UTXO Alliance Town Hall, this time for September 6th, 2024. Agenda today is UTXO in the news. We'll go around and get updates from our various members who are present in the meeting today, an update from Wolfram Blockchain Labs, a quick preview of working groups and how we might think about those in the next 2 weeks, a review of the activity board, time for an open mic, and breakout rooms. So, UTX in the news. Each week, I'd like to do a 1 minute or less overview from each member as we get an update, and this will be tweeted out at the end of the meeting, this slide specifically. So it'll go out as this slide as the image and a follow-up link with the recording of the town hall. I don't expect to send this out with blanks, but that's obviously why we should have people delivering updates each month. And so right now, let's just go around the room. If you're present and representing your member chain, please come off mute. We'll go in alphabetical order. You can deliver a 1 minute or less update since the last time we spoke. So let's begin with Alethium.
Yes. Yes, sorry, I'm not muted. So yeah, so for Alephium, we had the Oracle that launched on the mainnet. So it's really a very nice milestone to strengthen our ecosystem. Already we are today the largest in TVL of all proof of work chain that are smart contract enabled. So that will really allows us to kind of strengthen this position, which is really nice, and it will unlock a whole new era of projects into our ecosystem. And actually, I'll mention it briefly. We actually have a small fun hackathon going on right now, which is called Why So Serious, inviting developers to just work with creativity and build random little dApps that are fun, innovative, and creative. Typically, it's not mandatory, but it's nice to have to leverage the Oracle. For example, you could have like a virtual garden who has changing elements depending on Oracle data or things like that. And another news into our ecosystem is that we are expanding our bridge network. We had a bridge to Ethereum, and now we are adding Binance Smart Chain to the bridge, and it's currently live on testnet. And that's yeah, that's the overview for Alephium right now.
Great, thank you. I wanted to personally share the Fang upgrade completed on Cardano. We enter the age of Voltaire and DREPs begin. So there are people signing up to be DREPs with governance stake being allocated to them. And the constitutional convention will occur in Buenos Aires, Argentina in December of this year. If there are any representatives from Digibyte, Ergo, Fractal, Horizon, or Komodo in the meeting, please come off mute and share an update. I don't believe there is. So let's go to Nervos and please share an update. John Joe.
Hi everyone. Yeah, I'm very glad to share the upgrade of our nervos in the past months. The most upgrade is our CKB Lightning Network. The fiber network is released its testnet. Our fiber network is a common Lightning network built on the CKB and off-chain channels. It's also offering the faster, cheaper, and decentralized multiple token payment and P2P transactions. In this edition, our Lightning Network supports the open, update, and close channels between two nodes, and support for channels with any RGB++ assets. And it also has the interoperability with the Bitcoin's Lightning Network. Our fiber network is not to replace the Bitcoin's Lightning Network. They are integrated and want to enhance the whole Lightning Network ecosystem and enhance the P2P payment. And in the middle of this month, our testnet will update to support more features like the multi-hop routing and the watchtower. Yeah, thank you.
I just want to take a quick second to invite everyone to the Common Knowledge Conference that's coming up in November in Chiang Mai. This is right before DevCon. If anyone's interested in presenting any interesting research, feel free to contact me. If anyone's interested in the website, it's commonknowledge.cc. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Please put that in chat as well, so I can link to the slide and in the tweet afterwards. Okay, members from Quai Network, they recently raised a strategic funding round. This is to support their ongoing next steps, and it's a very exciting update from their end. Topple, Hans, may I have an update from your end?
Sure, absolutely. So we are still pre-launch for the moment, but we're coming to the end of our pre-launch phase. So our pivot more towards integration with Bitcoin is coming to an end, and or coming to a conclusion, I should say. We're finalizing our first implementation, and we're getting ready to launch that here shortly for testnets. So hopefully everything goes smoothly.
Godspeed and congrats on that. Update from Wolfram Blockchain Labs. We are in milestone 2 of our Cardano Oracle Harvester. We'll share more of an update in the member update afterwards. And University of Zurich or Zengate, if anyone is in the room, please come off mute. I don't believe anyone is in the room for that. Great. Well, thank you everyone for those updates. Hopefully we can get a full member update for the next town hall, and that'll be something that I coordinate within Discord. Okay, continuing our segments for the UTXO flavors department, we are going forward with some of the next steps. One is, how do we approach a technical working group and continue to elaborate on what those plans are? How do we develop educational materials? How do we bring more awareness to the various members and their UTXO variations, characteristics, technicalities, and how they work? Before we get to that, we'll do an sorry, didn't mean to do that. Before we move any further, let me pass the slides over to Ignacio for an update on the technical working group and some of the visualizations going on there. Ignacio, go ahead.
Thanks, Steph. I like the background.
Going on, by the way.
What's
sorry,
up?
say again.
The ice cream. The ice cream. I like the ice cream.
It's an ice cream segment.
Yeah, so this is a great idea proposed by Steph, and I think that we should play with it, let ourselves be playful. So we've been thinking in a very didactic way to explain UTXOs, and we're building a visual menu that tries to be explainer. I mean, the minimal, easy way of explaining the workflow of how the UTXO model operates. So as part of the content creation group, I've been creating these visuals, which I hope that are an easy way to break up each piece from the zoom out version of the entire blockchain. And you zoom in, you can see the transactions. So I've been working on some visuals for instance, Bitcoin's UTXO model that we want to compare it with the vanilla of UTXOs, the vanilla flavor of UTXOs. And then we want to start extending our flavors menu to the variants of UTXOs that we have here represented by Alliance members. So namely, this is the extended UTXO model. You can see where things change. If you introduce the extended part, you have scripts on top of just validating transactions. And the proposal here for all of you guys is, it is my intention to validate the technical veracity of these visuals, see if there is a better way of explaining these things. And that's what I'm proposing to work on the next technical working group in 2 weeks from now. So inviting the technical folks sitting in the room, or the ones that are not present here, but that they can represent their own UTXO version and have many of these visuals validated, so that the ultimate goal can be composing and appending all of those in something like a handbook of UTXOs. Also, these visuals can be broke up to be used for Twitter posts. So yeah, that's the proposal basically. The content working group has been working on this minimalist visuals that can be of a lot of help for targeting a general audience, but also not omitting the key aspects, the key technical aspects that are appealing to technical audiences as well. So yeah, just let's be paying attention on Discord. I'm going to be posting more details on how we're going to move forward with this. But the idea is to validate that visual accurately represents the technical intricacies without becoming too technical for explaining these things. Any questions or any comments? Otherwise, back to you, Steph.
Ignacio, one thing I want you to share is just kind of like the flow diagram and how the technical working group might go. So let's say who shows up for the technical working group, and they're representing a particular chain. The people in that technical working group would focus on essentially building off of the base UTXO visuals, and then moving in the next step, the progression to kind of visualizing their whole UTXO base. And so we would, whoever's in the room, we would focus on them and building out the visualizations for their member chain. So if this is something that's useful, or it's going to help the marketing and education, or just kind of general understanding of the base technical layer for your chain, that's what we would encourage you to show up for on the technical working group. And we have software where many people can interact in building visual pieces of that, and that's just a Miro board. And then we have a more professional version of flow diagramming, for which we'll take kind of the concepts built together in Miro and build them up into these more standardized kind of visual flows. Sorry, Ignacio, I didn't give you a chance to say that. But yeah,
no,
do you have
thanks for
anything
adding
else to add?
Yeah, I think that the idea, and thanks, Steph, for that, is in the next technical working group, we can all jump into a Miro board and have one of these UTXO templates as the core background. And then whoever is present there, or we can start working on, okay, from this template Bitcoin UTXO flow chart, how does your chain differs, or what's the variant that can be added here? And then we can all have a shared screen where we will be drawing arrows and blocks and different things, so that then after some time with that information in place, a more standardized version of that flowchart can be built. So that's the idea. So yeah, we can coordinate more of the details in Discord. Perhaps there's people that already know if they will not be able to show up in the first, or I mean, in the next working group. So we can prioritize the ones that will. And yeah, that's the idea. Basically, have a technical support behind the flow charts.
Great. Well, thank you, Ignacio. And this includes scaling solutions, Hydra, RGB. It includes Rosenbridge. So these are, if there's other technical innovations that we want to flow chart down so that, we're focusing on interoperability between chains, that's also something of interest. So it's really who's there in the room bringing what interest. Thanks, Ignacio.
Thanks, Steph. Back to you.
Okay, member update from Wolfram Blockchain Labs. Be happy to present here. So, let me just do this. Presenter view. Okay, so here's an update from Wolfram Blockchain Labs. We have 4 core focus areas: blockchain integrations, intelligence, Oracle, and research and development. When we integrate with any various blockchain, what we enable are read and write functionality within our Wolfram language, and that flows through to our end applications like Mathematica and Wolfram Alpha. What we've focused on, and here's in one example, in the analytics intelligence area, we've really honed in on governance analytics, and this is from within the Cardano ecosystem, for which we've participated over the past 2 years. This revolves around submitting proposals, tracking data, collecting, making it into a workflow, and then visualizing and sharing insights. The outcomes have been many visualizations. We look at ratings of proposals. We look at the progress and project status of proposals, where people are in the timeline of getting funded versus completing funding. And so we think this is an important aspect of governance. Building on top of that, research within governance is one particular aspect we looked at was voting power. When those who are voting on various proposals, we wanted to know if the, how is the voting dynamics actually played out? Is it a small group with large holdings dictating the entire thing, or is it more democratic? And that's kind of a direction of research. Paper was just recently published, including this information. And then with the kind of fairly recent large language model performance, we really started to think how proposals and governance systems might get impacted by that. And so we've written, and we're coming into our final milestone of 5, looking at literature review, data availability, how to test experiments with large language models, what the cost for implementing an LLM application is, and then bringing that all together as a piece of research and making it into a useful application for not data scientists, but average users to use natural language to explore data, and specifically set in the governance setting. So research turned into the data database and how to pull the ground truth from that database into an LLM application. One way that we tested this was in an arena environment. So we took a set of open weight and closed source models. We put in the governance data in a specific use case, specifically for how a delegated representative would actually review and vote on proposals. And then we had a SQL workflow kind of comparing the ground truth to what's in that database versus what did the LLM produce. And we got good various results based on zero and few shot prompting. We looked at some of the smallest models all the way up, smallest open weight models that you could run in your community's infrastructure, all the way up to the largest closed source models to see how they perform. And Llama in the open weights with few shot prompting performs as well as any of the closed weight models. Another way of kind of identifying and looking at the performance is with an LLM referee, where you just take the LLM and act as the referee based on the outputs from the various models. This is more of an autonomous way of reviewing how various models work. We used the large closed source models as the LLM referees, and you could see some of the models were better than others. And then in the areas where there's just human feedback that's required, does this feel right? Is this useful? We created an environment where humans can provide their feedback, and we give different ratings on various LLMs. So all of this is to say that we're experimenting with blockchain data in an LLM environment, and we're capable of offering ways of viewing, ways of understanding, and ways of building LLM applications that we think is going to be helpful. And lastly, we're looking at the hardware and cost infrastructure of running these LLMs, either on premises or in cloud services, open weight models versus closed weight. And we have an interactive model that we can update on this. So we'd be happy to talk to anybody else about it. Then quick on infrastructure, we've been collecting centralized and decentralized exchange trading pair data and pulling it together so that we can offer an API and WebSocket feeds. And this is important to our Oracle infrastructure, for which we're on the middle of our project, where on Cardano, we're taking kind of a contract that has both state and logic embedded in it in a UTXO's datum. We're watching and listening to on-chain transactions. We'll index them, and if one is asking for a particular price, we're able to deliver that from our own infrastructure. And we think that this is a really useful thing for UTXO-based smart contracts and potentially DeFi applications. And so our price feed infrastructure is going to launch in October. If you'd like to see trading pair on there for your member chain, please, we'd love to kind of continue to add new trading pairs. And so if there's a particular token to US dollar, USDC, USDT trading pair that is most liquid on various exchanges or decentralized exchanges, please let us know. We'd like to cover those. And I think that's about it from the update from our side of things. So let me go back to the UTXO slides. If you would like to deliver the next member update, please indicate interest in the chat and we'll record that note. And now, 2 weeks ago, switching gears here, we had our working group meeting, and it was to lay out how to think about working groups as we go forward. And where's my working groups? So the way we've been thinking about working groups is to get all of the technical content and operations groups together in one room at one time each month. And that will allow the greatest amount of kind of collaboration at one time. And what we talked about in the previous working group was just a way for those who attend to begin working fairly immediately. We have a slide deck that has all the various things that people can work on in the content section, operations section, and technical section. Obviously, Ignacio just outlined another way that we can work together in the technical section, but we also have this contribution template that should take about 2 minutes to fill out. And the point is, we can't guarantee that everybody that was in the previous working group is there at the next working group. And therefore, if somebody completes work, there needs to be a known way to build off of it. So what they do is, let's say you show up for an operations working group, you fill that out, put in operations, the date, anybody else that was in attendance with you. You can do this by yourself and set the intention for what the next 45 minutes look like in that working group. A few bullet points on what was completed work and any additional notes. At the end of that working group, we all get back together, we each share what happened in that time, and then that's a record that exists for the next working group meeting to build off of. You can either complete work yourself or set up tasks for the next person to complete. And we think this is one way to do kind of asynchronous work across not guaranteed attendance each time. So that was a quick review on the working groups. I will pause there if there's any questions. It kind of leads into this next slide, which is what's currently on our activity board. So from the content working group, we had various members reach out to our member chains and ask if they can set up a 5-day Twitter content strategy. So far, we've completed Nervos, Alephium, and Quai Network. Zengate has agreed to do the next the 5-day working group, which will begin on September 16th, so not this next week. That is an available week in case you'd like to put together a 5-day tweet and have a Twitter space at the end of it. Any feedback on actually, let's pause there. For those who have observed the 5-day Twitter strategy, is there any feedback that you'd like to share now on how that worked, timing of posts, how we interact, et cetera, et cetera?
I've asked by my marketing team to unpack it, so I've got a look for here. So I'm going to understand their questions a little bit better, why it is that they're thinking this is confusing, and what their context is, because it's at the moment some of that might not be 100% clear. So I'll report back, but I have raised it with them, put a ticket in. I'm just kind of waiting to see what happens next when I meet them.
Who is that with? Sorry, you broke up a little.
Sorry, that's with our, we have a ticketing desk internally within marketing. So I've raised it there. I've suggested some ideas for some content, but at the same time, I kind of need to get marketing traction to say, yeah, that's a good idea, or it's not, and find out what hoops I need to jump through. So
Yeah,
that's where that is, at
understood.
least with IO.
Okay, cool. Has anybody observed the tweets going out and have appreciated them or thought they were not relevant to UTXO kind of mission and directions? Is there any feedback there? Do we think it's working? Do we think there's getting traffic being driven to our member chains? Nervos, or I don't know if Maud is still here from Alethium. Can you identify if there was any direct impact?
In the community engagement wise, yes. I want to say that's the extent of it. People just kind of like to see I guess, the educational stuff moving. So that's a positive.
Does it help to the marketing teams at all? Does it give it another outlet or a place to think about where to share things?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. All right. Well, we might as well see it all the way out.
Just
And
to clarify, is this coming from?
go ahead. Rupert, you're on mute. I don't know how that happened.
Sorry. Is it a requirement to come from both, say, UTXO's channels and Nervos's channels, or can it just UTXO channels?
Yeah, just UTXO channel. So I just referred to Nervos because they were the first to put together a 5-day strategy.
Perfect. That makes sense then. Okay, that's going to be a lot clearer with marketing. I wasn't sure if you were expecting us to do 5 days of Twitter takeover of, yeah. Okay, that's clearer then.
Yeah, and those who have access to the Twitter account have been posting it. So it's just kind of the content and links in a doc, and then we would just post it. So it's not there's not an additional burden on the marketing team to post those things.
Okay, that's far easier then. Great.
Yep. Okay. There was a question from Alan from Quai Network if there was a shared calendar and if we had a drive for submitting standard operating procedure documents as a way for getting a bit more organized. I have set up the very basic of a Notion page where there is a shared calendar. It should be pulling UTXO content or UTXO working group meetings onto that calendar. It should be pulling town halls and it should be pulling Twitter space takeovers. And then there is a Google Drive where we can put the outputs from working group meetings and anything else for establishing like standard operating procedures. So that was a recommendation from Alan. We've moved forward with that. In the operations group, we could still have people going over who can be added as Alliance supporters, Alliance members, and Alliance decision makers. So that's a part of an activity that can occur in that group. We have not heard back from Lars despite a follow-up, Rupert, just FYI. In the technical working group, where, as Ignacio said, that's the UTXO visualizations. Operations works on onboarding. Let's look at getting more new members, as we did not have one this month. So that breaks our streak of 3 months. And then Ignacio's taken on the website updates and is in contact with the maintainer at IOG to be able to get over some technical barriers. And then lastly, it would really be a wonderful thing to turn the UTXO Alliance into an actual Web3 based DAO with a treasury and how to run a governance system there. If there are candidates from our member chains for where to run that DAO, that would be a very worthwhile operations content working group direction. So we're at the point for an open mic. Are there any thoughts to share, requests to make, wish list items? Anything else from our members here that'd like to just point something out that we haven't talked about? If we haven't heard from you today, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, if there's no one up, I'm just curious in hearing any good examples post Chang hard fork. Maybe Rupert, can you share something?
Yeah, I mean, post Chang hard fork, it's actually gone reasonably well as far as I can see. There's always challenges planning a hard fork, and particularly when it's new people planning a hard fork. So the context in the IO ecosystem is that it used to be IOG kind of sort of leading this kind of stuff, and the Cardano ecosystem that's now been handed over to Intersect. So we've been supporting them in getting that Chang hard fork out. We got the critical mass, it got voted through, that was great. And then actually people updated and it landed all right. And there are going to be increments on top of Chang that are coming as well. But the big work is done now, the major pieces. So that sets the stage for the next, I guess, the next moving parts, which is things like towards the end of the year in December, we have the DREPs and, well, the constitutional committees coming together and finally voting for the constitution, and then that gets codified and accepted, and that becomes the way of doing things. But what we've done now with the Chang hard fork is created the enablers that allow that kind of voting system to happen and work. So really major milestone, and it's kind of an interesting sort of model change from governance in one way to really handing over the keys to the community to say, look, you've got this huge treasury here. How do you want to spend it? And rather than it's, I don't know, Charles Hoskinson's voice that's the loudest in the room or whatever, it's the community's voice. And there's a very kind of thought out way of engaging with that across committees, across delegated representatives, across special interest groups, across working groups. And it's quite a cultural change as well within all of the organizations that are involved to find their way around all of these new virtual groups to figure out how they engage, how they put proposals together, how they put their focus on the things that are going to get highest and most valuable return. So I think across the ecosystem, there's an element of soul searching and finding a way. But I also think when you put all of these pieces together, Cardano will be a lot stronger as a result of it. It means that you will have greater visibility by handing things over to the community. But I also think there are risks with that as well. It's quite easy to have blind spots. So one of the other things we're looking at is how to map the ecosystem and get the ecosystem itself to self-report and share their own views of what the ecosystem should look like. And so as part of that, we've been looking at creating effectively an ecosystem map of different roles of all of the different entities in an ecosystem, potentially turning that into a metadata project as well, which could act as a foundation. So you can then go, right, let's get all of the, I don't know, say network operators or whatever, people stake pool operators as a role, self-reporting on what they're seeing, what the challenges and so on, and also how they stack up against other competing ecosystems. So longer term, there could be a really interesting vision about how you transform the way ecosystems operate. So all of this stuff is bubbling away under consideration at the moment. But it's a really interesting move from an ecosystem perspective, and then big changes about things like parameters and all those kind of things can also be voted for by the community. So we're expecting to see changes in that as well.
I think it's incredibly exciting. And do you have any idea more on the dates of the Constitutional Convention that you can share in December in Argentina?
I have
I would
no
like to
more
attend.
details. Yeah, I don't know the details of that. I just know it's going to be sometime in December in Buenos Aires, and that's happening. I don't have more to share on that, but it does look exciting and kind of a historic moment, actually.
I agree. I'm going to end the recording there and thank everyone for being here for the September version of the UTXO Alliance Town Hall. Please connect with us in our Discord and socials. And if your member representative was not present here, please encourage them to attend so that we can have a full set of updates from all of our various members. Thanks, everyone. And now we will engage the breakout rooms for the next 15 minutes or so. Thank you.